The crew lineups for the boat race, which is between Oxford and Cambridge, are typically announced 2 or 3 weeks out from the actual race in what's called the crew announcement, which is typically this big media event where you get weighed and compared against your opposite man. It's kind of like a boxing weigh-in, but more posh. But what's more interesting is sort of the 3 weeks leading up to the crew announcement, which is when Coach Rob has to make his final decision on who's in the blue boat and who isn't. And that always means extremely brutal swaps and seat racing, usually with a couple lifetimes of hopes and dreams on the line. It's hard to overstate how much pressure and nerves there are at this point in the season. Every little muscle twinge or little sniffle becomes a huge deal because everyone's sort of heard the horror stories at this point of guys who had their seat in the blue boat but ended up losing it because of a last-minute injury or illness. And it doesn't help that Rob is not in a good mood at this point in the season because we really didn't perform as we hoped on the fixtures. So every time you push off the dock, it feels like this could be the session where you might get swapped out of your seat in the blue boat. This year, the second to last guy to earn his spot in the blue boat was Durham native and lightweight superstar Matt Edge, so I thought I'd let him tell you how he earned his spot in the blue boat.
So we came back from camp. I'd been lucky enough to be in the blue boat for pretty much all of camp, and so on return we did a couple of pieces on the ergo where suddenly I wasn't doing so fresh, I wasn't feeling very hot.
They were bad, man.
They were pretty bad. They were pretty bad. You think all my erg pieces are bad,
No.
even I thought these ones were really bad. And so rightfully so, Rob dropped me to Goldie for a week, which was a good kick up the pants. So I took the time from there to pull my finger out, and then luckily enough on the weekend lined up for 2 3Ks between the 2.8s, and after the first one the swap was called and it was me in for Marty, who'd been stroking the blue boat. Really good stroke man, stroked the Stanford 1V, he was captain there, great oarsman, and we switched, and I sort of knew that was my do or die moment, and so between those 2 pieces I pulled a season best on the 3K watts and I was in for the rest of the fixtures.
I mean, this guy out of nowhere went over 400 watts when he got swapped. You'll want to remember this guy's name for the next episode.
Oh dear.
And from that day on, my job was to do everything I could to match his rhythm. Coach Rob was swapping me over these last final weeks between 4-seat and 6-seat. And although 4-seat was more fun, I was really aiming for 6-seat because it's a little bit more of a prestigious seat. Then what ended up becoming the final seat race happened just a week out before the crew announcement at the Battersea Power Station. Because of some miracle, I actually ended up sitting out this seat race. So this is me sneakily filming as the guys went out in force for the final time. And I mean, these final seat races get brutal. Often they end up being more intense than the actual race you're preparing for. And I mean, a few guys got swapped for good measure, but the real race here for the last seat in the blue boat was between Marty and Gus, who were 2 guys who'd been swapped over and over and over again over the last 3 months. And here, finally, is when Gus beat Marty by just over a second over 2 1,500-meter pieces, which is just a brutal thing to decide over such a tiny margin. But that's rowing. After each of these pivotal moments, Seb is really good about getting all the guys back to our place, where he cooks something like fried chicken or crispy pork belly. Then you all sit around the table and try and smooth over a little bit of that competitiveness that kind of lingers from all the training. And I mean, no one is drinking at this point in the season, so this is kind of all the social life you get. At one of these evenings, your phone dings, and it says that Rob Baker's added you to a WhatsApp group called the Blue Boat, but you don't say a word. Then a couple minutes later, everyone in the room gets an email with the subject line crew selection, and that's kind of what makes it final. You've made the boat, and I even made 6-seat. It's a little bit of a weird moment because you can't really celebrate too much since you making it in the boat means someone on the team hasn't. But as soon as I was out of earshot, I know I was calling all my friends and family just to freak out a little bit. The next day, after just some normal, horribly sweaty erg, Seb gets all of the brand new race kit and hands it out one by one. It's kind of a really cool moment. You might say this is the real crew selection ceremony. The 9 men were Coxon, Ed Bracey, Stroke Matt Edge, then Luca, me, Kenny, Gus, Marsh, Noam, and Seb. The boys. Then you get a quick shower and you pop on your brand new race kit and you hop into a coach which drives you out to the Battersea Power Station, which is this really cool mall in the middle of London that was once a coal power plant. There are BBC cameras and Row 360 cameras following you around everywhere, which is a little awkward because you're kind of wearing a unisuit and wellies in a public mall. But then in one corner of the mall you see the Oxford crew for the first time, and they're also in all-in-ones and wellies, which is kind of funny, but damn, they look kind of big. One by one you do a preliminary interview in front of the BBC cameras with your opposite man, and the vibe is a little little bit edgy because you don't want to seem nervous, so everyone's sort of cracking dumb jokes and laughing a little bit too loudly, which honestly makes you seem nervous anyway. Our coxswain Ed also thinks it's funny to crawl around like Schmeagol from Lord of the Rings. And you get some time off for dinner, but just me made the call to sort of not eat dinner because I knew I was about to step on a scale in front of all my family and friends. So instead, we obviously went to the Lego store. Legos for big guys too, okay? Then the sun starts setting and you head outside in front of the mall to do some group photos, and it's absolutely freezing. And it takes forever because some idiot can't get his oar straight. That idiot's me. Then the main event comes with sundown, which is where they close off the main part of the mall and all your family and friends arrive to take a seat in front of the stage. Honestly, it's pretty crazy looking down at it all. I mean, why are all these people coming to watch you stand on a scale? And there are one or two boring speeches and the coaches get interviewed, and then Martin Krust comes on and he does his thing and announces people's names one by one. As you step into the escalators, you're kind of overthinking everything. Should I be smiling or should I look mean? How's my posture? Where do my hands go? It seems like all the Oxford guys want to walk slightly ahead of the Cambridge guys down the aisle, and we let them do that because Cambridge are so chill. Traditionally, you sort of wanted to be as heavy as possible, but nowadays it's sort of important to be big and light, and I'm much better at being big. I ended up weighing in at 97 kilos, which was honestly the lightest I'd been all season, so maybe I shouldn't have skipped dinner. But honestly, I was just happy to be under 100, so mission accomplished, I guess. When it's all over, you talk and schmooze with some supporters for a little bit, and then sneak off to a corner store for some sandwiches before hopping on a midnight coach home. But honestly, I didn't sleep at all. On that coach, I remember sort of sinking back into my seat and slowly coming to the realization that there was really only one thing left to do in the season now, and that was to do the boat race.